There is a move just pre-impact with your trail arm that you pretty simply have to get right, but many of my students don't get it right, and it's what causes many of their bad shots. So I'm going to teach you the same thing that I teach them to help you really improve your impact. It's going to help with your consistency, your strike, and just the overall feeling of the shot off the club face. So I'd love you to do this little demonstration with me to begin with, because it's going to help you kind of better understand what we're trying to actually do. Take a golf club, just stand up and just put the club out in front of you. Now from here, I know the club head's a little bit in the way there, but if I just open up my trail palm, where does it face? Well, it faces pretty much down towards the target, okay, because my grip would be in this fashion here. Now from there, if I said to you, just simply, stay standing up nice and tall, just swing the club around you like you would be making a golf swing, but obviously we're not tipped over the golf ball. Don't give it too much thought. You swing the club around your body and you do something like this. Now if I ask you to open up that trail palm, where does it face? Well, it no longer faces sort of out in front of me, it faces more towards the sky, and you can see that my trail arm has done something quite different. That's a very natural thing to happen in the backswing. It's going to be happening in your backswing, my backswing, every golf swing you see on TV, it's happening. So what happens is we start here, and as we swing back, there's a rotation, and then the arm folds, so the palm faces up. So if we accept that that happens, palm up, which is effectively the club face, as we start to swing down, guess what? We've got to do something with that club face. We've got to get it to point back at the target. Now, please don't let anybody tell you that the body squares the face or rotation squares the face. It doesn't. It's what your arms do. Here's the real kicker. This is the thing that people get wrong a lot of the time. Once I get myself into this position and I have to get that palm to face back towards that flag, there are two ways I can do it. One of them is the way we want. One of them is the one that's unfortunately more common. I can use my shoulder. So watch what happens when I use my shoulder rotations. Palm faces exactly where I need it to face. That will be square in the club face. But when I do that, what do you notice my elbow does? Goes back away from the target. This would be shoulder rotations. The other way we could do it, and I hope you're doing this with me, is by holding this arm in place and using the lower part of your arm. So if I use the lower part of my arm, I can still get the palm to face back towards the target, but it doesn't influence my elbow. Now, when we bring the golf club back in and we do those two same movements, you should start to see which one looks more like the pros and which one looks more like maybe your own golf swing or the people that you're playing with. We get into our delivery position this way. Let's use the shoulder rotations. Where does the club face point? Back towards the target. That did its job, but elbow went back. Very difficult for me to get the handle forward. So this is really common, but not what we want. The opposite way, we get ourselves into the same position, but this time we hold the elbow and we use the lower part of the arm, get the club back into position. Now what we see is more shaft lean. We see the elbow more in front of the trail hip. This looks a lot more like we see the pros. And I'll put some images of some golfers that you're going to recognize in their impact. So ultimately what we're saying here is, when we are in our downswing, we have to do something which squares that club face. Because if I do nothing, that club face is just going to stay pointing out to the right. If I do this and do nothing else, nothing to suggest that face is going to point back towards the target. We've got to therefore learn how to square the face, and it's how you use your trail arm. So a couple of exercises that I want you to do to really kind of sense and feel what we should be doing. Let's do this one again, no golf club. Hand up in front of you, swing it back to the palm face of the sky, then grab, put your hand over the top of your sort of bicep, and I want you to basically rotate and pull that bicep forward and keep it moving forward as you use the lower part of your arm to turn your palm back towards the target. Now the beauty of this little exercise is that you're not able to use the shoulder rotations, because shoulder rotations are going to push the elbow back and you're sort of holding it. You're not pulling it with a lot of force, you're more stopping it going backwards. So as I try and use my shoulder rotations, I can feel myself sort of pulling against that hand. So it's a great little exercise to do from standing up here, turn, turn, rotate. And you can see how I'm using the lower part of my arm to square that club face. Then if we do that in golf posture, we can do the same thing. We can get the hand into position. Again, if I just rotate my body, where did the palm face? Nowhere near. So I've got to start to make these movements. What I'm looking for here is palm facing down. That shows I'm going to have some shaft lean, but the elbow is more towards the center line of my body. and it's more in front of my trail hip. If I took a setup and went from setup to impact, notice how the elbow moves more to the center line of my body. And you can do that as an exercise. You can just go ahead and feel like the elbow moves more towards the center line of your body. So many of you with impact are going to see the elbow more back away from the center line. So then we've done that in front of a mirror, in front of a reflection, you've got an idea, we can start to hit some shots. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take something like a 7-iron. I've got my full swing kit down here. I'm looking at launch angle and I'm looking at attack angle. I want the attack angle to be a minus. That tells me I'm hitting ball then ground, descending angle of attack. And I want my launch angle in this drill to be quite low. Because if I do it this way, I'm going to find it very difficult to get those two things. I'm going to see a launch angle too high. I'm going to see attack angle too shallow. So let me go ahead and see if I can hit a shot and just demonstrate those two movements. First one would be the incorrect way. Still squares the face, still gets the ball to go pretty straight, but, oh, I mean, that went low because I thinned it, but I mean, that was pretty awful. And if I put a little replay on the screen there, you'll see that impact didn't look too great. So attack angle, well, it was down, but only by 0.2. And launch angle was actually kind of where it needed to be, but that was more because I thinned it more than it was a good swing. So let's now go ahead and see if I can do the good swing, and then I'm going to show you how you can sort of work it as a little drill. Okay, now that felt completely different. You can't appreciate how that feels, but honestly, that felt like, it just felt like a different golf shot. It felt like a different sport I was playing. Attack angle minus 5.7, so really steep. No divot because the speed was low, and the launch angle down at 15 degrees. That's kind of where it needs to be. Maybe a little bit higher at full speed, but in that drill, it's great to get it kind of super low. So what did I ultimately do? Well, I did basically what we did in that little exercise. I got myself into this position, and I basically got my hands and arms to work back more in front of my body. I got my elbow to move more towards the center line of my body, kept it forwards as I used the lower part of my arm to square the face. What I didn't do is work down to here and then use the shoulder rotations. You can see that's such a different move. It does the same sort of thing. It gets the face to square up, but we lose the things that we want to keep control of, the attack angle, the compression, the strike. So we've got to keep this elbow moving forwards, and then as it stays forwards, we rotate the face on, and we get this beautiful impact position here, where you can see the outside of my pocket. You can see I've got some shaft lean, and the palm is facing the ground. So what I'd love you to do is just go ahead and rehearse that impact a couple of times. Super slow, no speed. I'm not hitting the golf ball, but I'm learning how to put those components together. Once I've done a couple of those, I can go ahead and hit it. That one wasn't my best strike, but it was a little exercise, it was a little drill. Trust me, when you can start to get this trail arm to move better, you're going to tap into or unlock so many of the things that you want in your golf swing.